Welcome everyone, this is Zan Ta with Repo Products. Today's video is on how to create a deployment image for Revit 2021. This video is meant for you to understand the process step by step, and it doesn't just apply to Revit 2021. It applies to most of all the Autodesk applications. It could be AutoCAD, Navisworks, 3ds Max, you name it. So how do I create a deployment image? First thing you'll want to do is head over to manage.autodesk.com and log into your Autodesk account so you can access the software. Click All Products and Services and then find the product that you need. You need to make sure that you are logged in either as the contract manager, a software coordinator, or an end user who has product downloading rights enabled. So I will scroll down because I'm a reseller. I have a long list of software. I head over to the Revit that I need. Let's give it a second. Expand it and click View Download for the version that you want. You want to make sure that you choose Browser Download. If you click View All, you're going to see that there are other choices, Install Now and Download Now. Do not use those two methods. It will not work for you. Make sure you choose Browser Download. When you're finished and you click Browser Download, it will tell you that you're about to download 6 compressed exe files totaling 15.9 gigs. When I click Start Download, if you have a pop-up blocker system turned on, you want to make sure you disable it, because if you don't, you won't be able to download it. My pop-up blocker is disabled for this site. So you can see down here, all 6 files are downloading. And if I click Show All, it'll list each file. And each file is roughly 2 gigs. See, 2 gigs, 1 gig, 2 gig, 2 gig, 2 gig. And depending on fast your connection speed is, will dictate how long it takes to download the content. All right. Now I'm doing this deployment image creation obviously from home because of COVID, and I'm lucky enough to have a very fast gigabit connection at the house. So mine is going to download very quickly. Once all the files are downloaded, you'll want to double click the first file. So in order for us to do the extraction and installation, we'll head over to my backup drive because I already have the files downloaded. Head over to Revit 2021 subfolder, and there's the 001. I'll double click to extract it. It knows to extract it to the C drive Autodesk folder, and it will make a folder called Revit 2021 and place all the files there. So I'll click OK, and we'll let it do its job. Now, earlier I said that this applies to any of the other Autodesk applications, and it's true for the most part. The backbone process, the steps that you go through, are pretty much the same. What's different is going to be things that are very specific to that application. For example, where the installation support files are going to be stored, any custom templates, any custom content, that kind of stuff is what's going to be unique for each of those applications. But the default creation of the deployment image and where it's stored and the basic choices that you make are going to be the same. And as you can see, it is extracting the installation files, and as soon as it's finished, the setup window will start. And this video, I'm going to do it live, obviously, so that you can see step by step the process and how long it takes approximately to do. The speed of creating the deployment image will vary based upon several factors. Things like your download speed to get the installation files, how fast it extracts the data, what kind of hard drive you're using, because I have a very fast Samsung 970 Pro M.2 drive. So it's a very fast read-write drive. And the portable drive that I have is a solid state portable drive. So it's fairly quick to read and write the data as well. You'll also want to make sure that in the process of creating this deployment image, you want to have a place to put it on your server or on your portable drive. If you're putting it on a portable drive, it's because you're going to physically take that drive and go from one workstation to another workstation, plug it in, and push the deployment image to that machine this way. This works if you're in a small office and you just kind of want to go to each workstation. But if you are the CAD slash BIM manager slash IT slash jack of all trades person at your company, you'll want to put it on your server. That way, it's easy for you to access that data from each workstation, because each workstation obviously can access the server. The other reason is because the read-write speeds of from server to workstation is usually faster than portable hard drive plugged into a physical machine. My portable hard drive is a USB 3.0, and so the speed is, it's okay, but it's not bad. If you had a Thunderbolt, it's obviously going to be faster. But if you're going network from server to workstation, you're probably running, gigabit connection, Cat 6, Cat 7, or whatever. So it's going to be much faster to read and push that data. So little things like that you have to be aware of when you go down the road of creating the deployment image and thinking about where you want to place it. And like I said, I'm working from home and I'm using my laptop to act as the workstation that we're creating the deployment image on. I'm also using that workstation as the quote-unquote server where I'm going to store the deployment image file, and it is quote-unquote the workstation that the deployment image is going to be pushed into so that the application is installed properly. All right. For most people, in most situations, you're going to have a physical server in your office somewhere, and you're going to have multiple workstations. So you'll want to create the deployment image and place it on your server. And then that way you can do the work much easier and a lot more efficient. And while this is almost finished extracting, I'm going to head over to the C drive, head over to Autodesk, and you'll see it made a folder called Revit 2021. And if I double click this, all the installation files are inside. And the setup.exe file is there as well. And you don't have to double click it here in Windows Explorer because during the extraction process it knows. And so it automatically starts that up for you. You do not want to click install. You want to click create deployment. So clicking this button starts that process. Now if you hear noise in the background, it's because my laptop, it has really two big powerful fans and it basically kicks on when it wants to. So you may hear some fan background noise. So I apologize for that. There's nothing I can do about that. So the first thing we want to do is we want to specify the name for the deployment configuration file. So in our case, we're placing it as Revit 2021 deployment image. This is a logical name because everybody knows it's for Revit, it's for the version 2021, and it's a deployment image. It's not something else. Don't just put deployment image. Don't just put Revit deployment image because that's not good enough. People will not know what version, especially like AutoCAD. Okay, don't just put AutoCAD deployment image. Put AutoCAD 2021. Okay. Now, administrative image path. Where are you going to place this deployment image? I'm going to click Browse. And you'll notice you'll get this and it's going to drill into your network and it's going to basically ping your entire network. And it's going to find all the workstations. And it gets to be a little cumbersome because it's really, really hitting hard trying to look at your entire network, look at all the computers and see whether you have access or not. And even when you click a physical machine to access, it takes a while. So the way to get around this, because this takes a long time, cancel out of this. Open up Windows Explorer and go to your server location. So for me, I created a folder under my D temp drive called server location. And I created a folder called deployment image. And then I created a folder called Revit 2021 DI for deployment image. And this is where I want it to place the deployment image file and all the support files that make it up. So if I click up here in Windows Explorer, it'll grab everything, right click and copy, then come back over here and Control V. And so that's the easiest way for you to tell it exactly where you want to place it without it having to browse and broadcast and look at your entire network. Revit is obviously 64-bit and Windows 10 is 64-bit, so it shows 64-bit. Run installation in silent mode. That way you don't want to have people prompting. It doesn't prompt the user for data. Creating a log file for each workstation in the workstation's temp folder, and then create a network log file. And where do you want to place it? If you left click inside here, it knows to look at the same exact location of where the deployment image is going to be placed, and it will create a subfolder called log. Then you click next. You click accept for the end user license agreement, click next. And now they've updated how you're creating the deployment image. So you have to choose, is it going to be subscription Autodesk ID username based methodology, where the user has to input their Autodesk username and password. The second choice is putting in a serial number for the old perpetual license method, or resellers, not for resale, or for home use where you have to put in a special serial number and product key specifically for home use. And then you have network for those who are deploying it and running it as a network-based installation where you have LM tools installed on the server. You have a unique license file on that server, and the workstations are requesting a seat of license to use from the workstation. In our case, and for most cases moving forward, using the Autodesk ID makes the most logical sense, because Autodesk, as you may or may not be aware, they're moving away from serial number product key functionality. They're going all strictly named user base. So you have to have an Autodesk account, you have to have an Autodesk user ID and password, and that way your BIM manager, CAD manager, whoever is in charge of your Autodesk software knows to make sure that the product is assigned to your account so that you can use it. In doing so, you can go to any workstation anywhere in the US if you're US based, open up AutoCAD or open up Revit and log in with your Autodesk account, and you can run the software. So you're done. You don't have to worry about, oh wait, my software is stuck at my workstation at the house or at the office. I can't use the software. That's the reason why, from a convenience standpoint, choosing Autodesk ID makes a very logical point in this case. I'm going to click next. And as you can see, this is everything that's going to be installed. If we drill into the Autodesk Revit 2021 drawer, you can see that it's going to put in the format add-in, MEP fabrication add-ins, the configuration of where all the files are going to be placed, whether you want to specify a custom project template or a custom Revit INI file as well, where the typical location is for project files, meaning work shared Revit models and things like that. It's going to go into the end user's My Documents folder. Okay, and then it's going to obviously put in US based families for Revit. And if you need UK, you can put a check mark. If you need German, put a check mark. And then if you need additional library, you can go into, for Revit 2021, there actually is within the interface a command for you to click Get Autodesk Content. And if you kind of browse through my YouTube channel, you'll see a What's New in Revit 2021 video, and that will explain a little bit further about getting that kind of content. Autodesk Desktop app is also going to be installed by default, which makes sense. Let it do so. This software allows you to update all of your Autodesk software when new products and new patches and security bugs and things like that come up. If you don't check it, you'll have to install it again later. And then Autodesk single sign-on functionality so that you can actually sign into the account and work with it. Installation path is going to default to your C drive, Program Files, Autodesk. All right, and so this is where it's going to install Revit. This is not where it's going to create the deployment image. That choice was way back 2 or 3 pages ago. I'm going to click Create, and it's going to go through the process of creating the deployment image. It looks like it is doing the install, but it's not doing the install. It's actually creating a deployment image. And you'll see down on the lower right corner how many steps it takes. Now this says 38 or 48, and depending on how fast your computer is, how fast your hard drive is, things like that, will dictate how long this takes. It doesn't take that long. I've done it once before, and it took maybe 2 minutes. So it looks like it's going to sit at 38 for a while, but after it hits 38, it passes 38, it'll jump very quickly to 25, and then from there it jumps to like 8, and then from there it jumps to like 1, and it's very, very quick. It's not something where it used to be like 30, 40 minutes of waiting. It's not like that anymore. So we're going to let it run. And if you want to, in this video, you can scrub forward if you want to. I'm going to let it actually run and record this way because I want people to really get a good understanding of actual timing of how long it takes to create a deployment image. You know, obviously given the choices that you decide to make and where you're going to place the files and your download speed and all of this that is real world condition. Okay. So we just, at this point, we're going to be patient and let it do its thing. And within probably 2 or 3 more minutes, it'll be finished creating the deployment image. And as you can see, it jumped to 21 real fast. And then jumped to 7 fairly quickly. All right. So it looks like it's just about finished. And it's done. And now it lets you know if you want to install and run the deployment image, you want to head over to this subfolder location and double click that file. Okay? And you'll want to do that from the physical workstation that you are pushing the deployment image to. If you need to modify it, you can go to the Tools subfolder, and then you can double click Create and Modify Deployment.lnk file, and it will get you back into the wizard. So I'm going to click Finish for now. I'm going to open up Windows Explorer again, and I told it to go to D drive, temp, server location, deployment images 2021 DI, and there it is, all the subfolders and the actual Revit 2021 deployment image shortcut. I can take, for me in this example, my workstation, quote unquote, is also a server. That's why I created a folder called server location. And that's it. That's how you created the deployment image. Now, if you need to modify it, go into the Tools folder and double click Create and Modify Deployment. And it will that shortcut will take you back into this wizard. And from here, you can make any modifications that you need. For example, one of the reasons why people do this, modify the file after the fact, is if they need to include or exclude content that was initially chosen during the first deployment image creation. So I'll click Next, and then I'll click Next to accept the end user license agreement. I'll re-specify to make sure it's Autodesk ID based. Click Next. And then in here, maybe I don't need to have the Autodesk desktop app. I would uncheck it, you see. Or maybe I realize there's things in here that need to be adjusted. Like, for example, the Revit subfolder locations here need to be changed. Or maybe there's a custom Revit INI file that I want to use. How does this work? Just real quick. Let's say you create the initial deployment image, you push the 21 installation to a workstation, you run 2021 Revit, it runs fine. You then go and you customize Revit 2021. You tell the software, don't show the fabrication tab in the ribbon. Change the keyboard shortcuts for the commands. Change the interface so I don't want it to be white, I want it to be black because I'm so used to AutoCAD or whatever. So as long as you make those kind of changes, what you're doing is you're modifying that Revit.ini file that's on that workstation. If you want to use that for the deployment image, what you can do is use Windows Explorer on that workstation, drill to your C program files, Autodesk, Revit 2021, and find that Revit.ini file. Copy that, paste it to your server location where you want, and specify it here. And it'll use that Revit INI file for the image deployment. So for all the other workstations, when you push the new modified deployment image, it will have the same Revit INI file as the first workstation. So they'll all look the same. And so this is why people would want to go through the create and modify a deployment link to make changes. So since I don't need to make any changes, I'm going to click cancel. If I close the drawer, I can obviously click create, but for now I'm going to click cancel. All right. And that's how you create a deployment image. And again, like I said, the best location for you to place it is on your server, because that way you can go from one workstation to another to push that image. You can also use like administrative tools like the Microsoft Remote Desktop Connection Manager, and you can set it up so you can use remote desktop connection to each of your workstations from here. So you as an administrator, network administrator, BIM manager, CAD manager, whatever your title is, or multiple titles that you have normally, you can sit at the comfort of your desk and do it from here. You don't have to physically walk to 50 workstations. The other thing you can do too, if you trust your employees, is to just send them an email and let them know, hey, I created a Revit 2021 deployment image. It's ready for you to use to push Revit 2021 into your machine. All you need to do is go to Windows Explorer, go to that folder, go to that subfolder, find that, and double click that file. And that's all they have to do. They don't have to do anything else. There's no user intervention. You don't have to bother with anything. Once it's all finished, it'll say it's done. They close the window, and then they can just run Revit 2021. Now, when you run Revit 2021, and when you run most, if not all, of the Autodesk apps, your initialize first run will typically give you a little white box and give you choices: single sign-on, multi-user, or enter serial number and product key. You got to make sure that you know what kind of license type that you have. All right. Now, since we created a deployment image and we purposely specified this one is made for Autodesk ID based, then when you run it, it will force you to log into your Autodesk account to run. Okay. If you have any questions on how to create a deployment image, just let me know. Reach out to me. I'm more than willing to help you with getting it up and running, but it shouldn't take that long. As you can see, it took less than the time to create this video, which currently stands at 26 minutes. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good day.